Good morning, viewers. Welcome to NASCOM Insights Vision Talks, where we get visionaries from different fields to share their thoughts and insights on how they are helping build a developed India. Today, we have with us Dr. Pandurang Kamat, who is the Chief Technology Officer of Persistent Systems and who is responsible for advancing technology research focused on unlocking business value through innovation at scale. He is a seasoned technology leader who helps customers improve user experience, optimize business processes, and create new digital products. So Pandurang, a CTO does many things today, right? Tech strategy, operations, integration, research, implementation. But before we get started on your current role, do tell me and the audience a little bit about yourself, your journey to this day. How did you get here? What really inspired you and motivated you to stay on this path?
Sure. Thank you for having me here, Achyuta. Thank you to NASCOM for having me represent Persistent here. So I am with Persistent for 12 years now, and I am based in Goa. I was born and raised here, did my undergrad in computer engineering from Goa Engineering College. Went to the US, did my master's and PhD there from Rutgers University. Worked there mostly for product and research companies. I had a stint at Bell Labs. I had a stint at IEC Search and Media, building analytics product. In 2012, when I moved back to India, that's when I ended up joining Persistent. Over the last 12 years, I've been a part of a journey with Persistent. We have collectively, brick by brick, built a very strong innovation labs and CTO organization at Persistent. Today, it is at the forefront of figuring out how emerging technology can disrupt and change and transform our business and the business of our customers. So that's been the journey. And in terms of the inspiration that you asked about, so you're just in the professional life in the last decade at Persistent, and in terms of leadership inspiration particularly, I have seen the leadership style and been very inspired by over the last decade by two very distinct and very inspirational styles. Anand, as founder chairman, grew the company for the first 3 decades almost, which is with a very different leadership style, very technology focused, engineering focused leadership. At a certain maturity stage, we also needed to do different style of sales, build a strong global sales machine, scale globally. We've seen Sandeep Kalra do that part of leadership, bring a very different leadership style required for a different stage of growth that the company was going through. So those have been, big inspirations.
Sure, Pandurang. I think good that you pointed out, because Dr. Deshpande still is an inspiration for all of us, and I think he's very active in a lot of things that we do at NASCOM also. So kudos to that. But I think Mr. Kalra's impact has been very evident in the growth that Persistent has seen in the last few years. And just segueing back to the next question, now that you touched upon it, Persistent today is a 34-year-old company, right? And it's been a listed entity for more than 14 years now. It is $1 billion plus company. It's got more than 20,000 employees already. Would you like to capture Persistent's journey, growth story till date? I mean, you've been in Persistent for 12 years now. So, in terms of business focus, has it changed? Customer centricity, technology capabilities, you touched upon it. Maybe you can expand a little bit. And then, other things like M&A strategy and also anything that you feel is able to embellish the growth journey of Persistent, do share.
Sure. So, we just announced our quarterly results, at $345 million in the most recent quarter. We are at about now very close to $1.3 billion in trailing 12-month revenue, and a market valuation of just over $10 billion. The interesting and important part of this growth has been, it over the last decade plus since the IPO, we have grown at about 17%, little over 17% CAGR. And in the last 4 years or so, 4 to 5 years, we have grown at 24% CAGR year over year, right? So it has been rapid yet consistent growth throughout, and particularly in the last 5 years. We have expanded to now 20 odd countries with 23,000 people. But if you step back and zoom out and look at the question you asked, right? How have we changed gears over the years? The way we like to look at it is in terms of orbits, as we've grown. And today we are in our sixth orbit. Our first orbit since inception was from around 1990 to 2001, where we we were serving a lot of customers, which were high-tech customers, building deep tech software products for them. In our second orbit from 2001 to 2008, we defined and led the category of outsourced product development, creating that as a niche growth category, not just for us, but for the India technology segment overall. In our third orbit from roughly 2008 to 2016, we expanded that capability of outsourced product development to complete product lifecycle, from design all the way through sustenance of products when they start plateauing out and being sunset, right? And that's around the time the IPO happened. In the fourth orbit, we were very early to catch the wave of that. Hey, all of the things that are happening in the high-tech ISV segments are also relevant for large enterprises as they transform themselves internally, the way they operate, the way they build services and serve their customers, right? The digital transformation wave. That was our fourth orbit of growth, creating a pole position in that. The fifth orbit from 2019 to 23 has been strengthening that market positioning as a digital engineering leader, expanding to multiple industries, expanding geographically, and creating a lot of shareholder value. Today, in our sixth orbit from 2024 onwards, it is about creating new growth vectors, right? And we've talked about how our platform-driven services approach is going to create that, or is driving that as the next growth vector. And these are AI-powered platforms that help us serve the digital engineering customers that much more efficiently, that much more scalably. So that's been the journey. And our M&A strategy has always been around not just doing revenue acquisition, but finding complementary pieces out there with the right customer base or the right technology building blocks that we can create a multiplier effect with. Because we have a large global customer base today, and these niche technology partners that we acquire, they give us the leverage to expand into those existing customers and take their expertise together with our hyperscaler partners to a new height. Right? So that's always been our M&A strategy. So that's a bit of history, but that's how we have evolved over time.
So I think thanks for sharing this, Pandurang. Nice way to look at orbits are a nice way to really look at evolution of an organization, and good to hear that you're already planning the next evolution for Persistent, but we'll get to that in a little bit more detail. But before that, Pandurang, emerging technologies are increasingly being recognized for their transformative potential across various sectors, right? Driving innovation, efficiency, providing new opportunities. And Gen AI has become the poster child for emerging tech today, providing a massive boost in creativity, efficiency. You call it what? Personalization, innovation. And you're one of the most eminent Indian voices when it comes to Gen AI. How are you looking at emerging tech overall? And of course, Gen AI for growth. How is Persistent looking at that?
Yeah, that's a great question. See, we see generative AI as the next evolution of AI that has caught the broader fancy of both technocrats and common folks who are not so deep into technology, because it made AI that much more accessible to people, right? So what does it mean for business, not just our business, but the business of our customer? Fundamentally, we are seeing this from two lenses. One, what we call AI for technology or AI for digital engineering. Here, and then the second one is AI for business. Now, AI for technology is about leveraging the power of generative AI in all things software and product development, all things modernization of enterprise services, all things related to cloud, either building on the cloud or migrating to the cloud, whether it's your applications, your infrastructure, or your data stack. So in that, we again take a very holistic view. we are saying that both AI for technology and AI for business, which is about enterprise search, enterprise automation, building of and new experiences and products to serve customer. Both of these we are building and powering our services with platforms. We have platforms for AI for technology. We have platforms for driving AI for business growth. What these platforms essentially contain are they are essentially theme-based AI services baked into them, each powering a different theme. So if you are trying to build a new product, that theme is very different. Its AI boost and engine will be very different from when you're trying to modernize your legacy application stack. Both are software engineering journeys, both are technology journeys, but the engines that power these two are very different. So the AI agents that we have created, the fine-tuning and the models that we have brought together and built in some cases to power those themes are very different, and customers get different experiences based on what they are trying to do. Similarly, what we have realized is when people are trying to transform their enterprise services, there are certain common things that the CIO persona looks for, or the chief data officer or the chief AI officer persona looks for, which is how do I adopt generative AI safely at scale, with enterprise grade consistency, enterprise grade security, enterprise data, to bringing the context again securely into that AI experience. So they can't just pick the model off the shelf and start building with it. They need the right guardrails, both for cleaning, sanitizing, and bringing their data in, and also for the consistency and accuracy of whatever outcomes they're delivering with that. So first part of our platform for AI for business focuses on this. It focuses on faster data pipeline creation, data quality, data lineage creation, powered by AI. We call this actually AI for data and then data for AI, right? And that's the way to look at it. And then secondly, governing what models are in play in the enterprise. Are they being provisioned correctly? Are they being given safe access to the business and tech teams? The FinOps around it, both observing what is happening in your enterprise and then fine-tuning it for financial, optimal financial controls. All of this comes under the governance aspect. The second personas that this platform cater to is the engineering and the business teams that are building the applications. So with these teams have to figure out ways to move fast and focus on the business problem and the customer that they are serving, rather than the plumbing, if you will, right? And the building blocks, like, if you're building something for that requires analyzing lots of unstructured documents, for example, you don't want the business teams wrangling with PDF parsing and creating pipelines around those documents. You want them to focus on the business problem. So we bring out of the box a lot of these building blocks that are general purpose, that can be tailored to these engineering and business teams that are building the applications. And these are, again, we see them as themes. So, that's how we are seeing the generative AI wave play out. And our job is to ensure that these themes not only differentiate us, they allow us the ability to scale and be at much larger tables than our current, let's say, headcount or revenue count typically would allow us, right? So it's an opportunity for us to be at bigger tables. And that's what we've been seeing as well, because the platforms give us that amplification to lift much larger workloads and deliver them better with higher quality, right? And the second thing is it allows our customers to adopt AI safely and to see an ROI rather than just adopt it for the sake of new technology adoption. So that's how we see Gen AI playing out. It's a very pivotal point in the industry right now.
Great points, Pandurang. And I think the platforms are all in-house developed, right?
Yes,
that's what you like to specify. Any challenges that you faced so far, Pandurang, and how did you kind of surmount them in this journey of making value out of generative AI?
Yeah, so last year, 2023 was all about learning and then educating our customers, hearing them with their questions, their concerns, bringing our understanding of the technology, because we often are at the forefront of this, maybe a year, sometimes 2 years ahead of our customers. So last year, we spent a lot of time in the field meeting and briefing them and educating a lot of the customers, doing the initial experiments and POCs, but also very importantly, learning, what are their concerns and what are their challenges in actually adopting AI. That helped us build this platform-driven approach, something that allowed people to experiment quickly and safely, then adopt it. This year has been all about scaling. And as you start scaling, a few things come to mind, right? You have to temper your enthusiasm with the maturity of different pieces of the technology. Educate again on the customers that it's not a magic wand, because sometimes once you educate in the initial part, it becomes then, okay, let's make this real and let's put it everywhere. You got to, educate on the nuances of it, right? So the quality of different parts of AI are at different stages of maturity. Today, everybody is talking about agents, for example. We've been building with agents for close to last 12 months, right? The level of maturity of a standard, what is known as retrieval augmented generation application today is at a much more stable and a higher level than, let's say, the agent-based technology. But agent-based technology is much more transformative. So how to adopt it for different horses for different courses, plan for a future with the right foundation, so that you're much faster in scaling the adoption of agents when they reach a different orbit in their maturity and so forth. So that has been the journey for 2024. Scaling AI safely, securely, with tempered confidence in what it can do, and continuing to educate customers and learning from them.
Great, Pandurang, and maybe next year we should have another conversation with you on the agents piece. I think there'll be sufficient amount of development on that area definitely by then.
Yes.
But Pandurang, nobody knows what the future is going to look like, but this is a vision talk. We want to hear from you, your vision, right? What do you see? How do you see the role of technology in developing India towards Viksit Bharat, right? What do you see Persistent? Where do you see Persistent in 2030, 2035, a long-term view? R&D investments in tech companies and enterprises in India has traditionally been low. Do you see that evolving? Do you see that kind of moving towards a particular direction, especially with AI coming in a big way? And also, maybe, do you see a role for NASSCOM to really enable some of this? So over to you to hear about your views, about your vision.
Sure. I'll take, in both parts. First of all, I think technology will continue to play a huge role, and AI particularly will play a huge role in the coming decade, right? Not only as a horizontal technology, but it will transform a lot of different fields. One, of course, is the field that we are in, the field of building software. It's fundamentally going to change the way people build software. I was at an event last week where Jensen talked about the CEO of NVIDIA talked about how the way we build software is changing, right? Rather than us programming software in detail, we are more and more prompting an AI agent to get what we desire and the outcome. And that's what we've been doing with our AI platforms as well. The other side, though, is in fields like healthcare and life science innovation, in fields like drug design, in aerospace, AI is going to have a profound impact in not only finding new discoveries within these fields, but changing the way people work in every one of these fields, right? And these are just representative illustrations. Yeah. So what should India do to prepare for this? Again, we have massive talent base, right? This talent base has to reskill themselves to work with AI rather than work on their own. And they've always been used to digital tools. And this is yet another new tool in some way, where you will have a digital co-worker in the form of an AI specific to the kind of job that you do. And you have to just learn how to leverage that. And those who do that will see 5x, 10x productivity over the coming decade in their performance. And that's how the field will change. The investments in R&D and innovation are essential. I think Indian tech companies have realized that a while back now. And the reason for this is a lot of India-centric technology innovation is taking place in India. We have a very, very rich digital data set today with one of the most massively digitally engaged population. A lot of our government stack is digital, whether it is in terms of identity or in terms of payments and so forth, and healthcare now as well. The digital literacy is spreading. The digital competency has to be elevated further to really take advantage of this revolution. The massive data that we create within India, we need strong and comprehensive and citizen-centric, actually, digital governance and privacy acts and rights, the right technology infrastructure that retains our data within the boundaries of India, allows us to innovate with it rather than just export the raw data and then consume the services created out of it externally again. So all of those things have to happen, and the tech companies in India are investing both in their in-house R&D or in startups and so forth to make it happen. And to your second point, NASSCOM has always played a very significant role in the technology evolution, in both bringing the right voices of experts, not just technology experts, business experts, citizen advocates, government regulators, large technology players together in understanding first of all, how this evolution is taking place, what opportunities does it bring to India, what needs to be done to capitalize on those opportunities, and then what are the risks and how do we mitigate those risks, right? So NASSCOM has not only been a thought leader, but also a facilitator of these dialogues so that the right information gets distilled and becomes actionable for all of these stakeholders. And I think that role will be even more valuable as we move forward in the age of AI. Because remember, just with all of this, as with all the opportunities, there are huge set of risks that will emerge with this. Today, deepfakes are a massive, massive risk to a population that is, not as sophisticated digitally as, the bad folks are, right? And so that's just one example of where we need a lot more work together with all the stakeholders. So I think NASSCOM will have a huge role to play in the coming decade in making this, reality.
Thank you, Pandurang. Last question, Pandurang, and I know we are kind of out of time, but, more important question, I would think, what kind of advice would you like to share with our audience? And what would be, say, 3 success mantras that you want to leave for, say, the technology leader who's seeking to build an innovation-led organization, a student who's aiming to build a career in tech, or a startup who's struggling to identify white spaces and strategies to scale up? So these 3 archetypes, what advice would you like to leave with them?
Sure, I'll try and keep this sharp, and this is for the first, the business and technology leaders who are innovating in their organization. This is what we do. This is what we do for our customers as well, is you have to innovate in 2 directions. You have to innovate top down with the right strategy, right North Star for your business in terms of business outcome, customer experience, revenue goals or efficiency goals. And you have to innovate bottoms up, because not all ideas will come from one direction or the other. Bottoms up innovation requires creating a culture that is, year long, not just, one time in a year where you solicit ideas. It's a culture that requires you to ideate systematically grounds up from the field, from whether it's your engineers or your sales or your service reps, and iterating on their ideas, surfacing the high impact ones, and then making sure you put your money and the backing behind it. So both innovation styles are very important. To the second archetype of student, I think today the barrier for learning have been lower than they have ever been in human history, right? I often talk about how from the Eklavya example of Mahabharata, right? Where certain people were maybe denied access to high quality education and learnings. Today, that is not the case. You have the world's best education available free or at very, very marginal cost over the internet from the best learning places. You have to learn and reskill yourself. You have to spot the trends. You have to learn from others who practice the craft, right? If you are a software engineer, if you are a pharmacy student, or you are a architect, you have to learn how the best in their field do this. You can't learn it only in college. So I would say to them that, be in a learning mode in the early part of your career. Focus on where you get to work with great people, do great things. That's where you will learn the most, rather than just finding whichever job pays you the most money, or hopping jobs and so forth. So that would be the second thing. And the third archetype, which is around startups, I think there is an immense opportunity. The single biggest thing for a startup, rather than all the glamour of fundraising and VC funds and things like that, should be absolute and undivided customer focus. Be as close to the actual problems on the ground that you can be. Work with the customer, your early adopting customers, to build for them, learn from that, and pivot, right? And a lot of the opportunity is at the intersection of very boring but multi-decade profitable businesses that need to be bridged digitally, right, to be even more efficient, to unlock new opportunities. So you will find a lot of value and opportunity to be unlocked at the intersection of those kind of businesses. So that would be, my recommendations.
Yeah, and I think in a way this summarizes this discussion also very well, right? I mean, the first one that you mentioned, innovation, top down, bottoms up. Have an open mind, because that's always going to help you as an employee, as a technology leader. As a student, barriers to learning has become lower. So this learnability, or this learning attitude, can really, really benefit you going forward. And for startups, yes, learn to address real life problems that the customers are facing, and keep pivoting. In fact, in our latest GenAI report, we've also seen that a big chunk of the GenAI startups are actually not native GenAI startups, but AI startups which are pivoted to GenAI, and they have been able to make it big over there also. So Pandurang, thank you for a very, very informative vision talk. Viewers, I hope you like this vision talk. Please like, share, and subscribe the NASSCOM Insights channel. And we look forward to putting together another inspiring vision talk for you soon. And we would like to have Pandurang again with us very soon. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.